I think we're live. Welcome to PhD&D, everyone. This is kind of an impromptu last-minute hangout. I'll be doing some stuff today, what I call hobby time. So a variety of things, probably going to convert an encounter or two from 4th edition to 5th edition to get ready for the adventure I'm running coming up here on the channel. So I figured since why not? I'd put this live. We could do a little hangout. So I might do a few different things. I'm gonna be snacking. It's gonna be very informal. So if you have questions, definitely throw them in the chat. I'll keep an eye on that. But yeah, I think I'm gonna get started here. Let's see. So I'm gonna show you this is kind of a new method for actually prepping things. Let me get it pulled up here on a screen share, but this is a way that I figured out. So it started with, this is the adventure that I'm going to be running on the channel. So you've got Reavers of Harkenwald. It's awesome 4th edition module. Great story. It should be a lot of fun to play in. But I needed to convert it from 4th edition to 5th edition. So I was like, all right, easy enough. It's very easy to convert things to 5th edition. But the issue I ran into was, how was I going to organize it? I'm not going to rewrite this entire book. That's way too much work that you don't need to do. And lately, as you can tell with like the Simply D&D series, I'm all about making things simple, easy, put the actual work and effort into the things that matter. And there's, like I said, with this entire book typed out, it's got all the area descriptions, obviously, all the maps, things like that. There's no reason to redo any of this. So really the only thing that needed to be kind of rehashed was the actual stat blocks, like the monster stats. And so with that, and then I think there's like a skill challenge in here, but that'd be easy. So then I narrowed it down and I was like, all right, we've got actual monster stat blocks that need to be converted over. Okay, how am I going to lay that out? I started with an actual 3x5 note card. I don't see it here. I was going to show you. But I wrote out the name of the monster at the top. And then I was thinking, okay, I can write the stats down below. I can have all these cards. And after doing it, like 2 or 3 of them, I was like, no, that's not very efficient. Like, and forgive me because my mind works in very mysterious ways, but I was like, there's got to be a better way to do this than write out all these 3x5 cards. I don't want to stack 3x5 cards and then I have to dig through, find the monster that I want. So the next thing I started looking for was online for like D&D 5th edition templates for actual like monster stat blocks. And there's a really, really good one out there, but it's designed for like websites. So you have the actual like code to be able to put that on a website and generate a stat block that looks just like the ones from 5th edition core rulebooks. So I was like, that's kind of cool. I've been, especially in my new job, I've been learning code and I've been working a lot more with that. So that might be fun. But then I run into the issue of, I don't really have a website that I've built from scratch. And for this purpose of redesigning a module for 5th edition, something that I want to run soon, coding up a website is not efficient at all. So I moved past that idea. And there's really no other stat blocks online that are well designed and like ready for what I needed. So then I was just kind of lost. Like I stopped working on the module. I was like, how in the world am I going to convert these over like simply and effectively? I don't just want to have like a Word document. I hate Word documents with a passion. And I don't just want to have that all typed out on there. So what I ended up doing was getting on Google Drive. And I started playing around on there. That's where I do most of my work, just because it's quick. I don't have to open like a third-party program. I don't have to open Word, which for some reason slows down my computer, or Excel. I can just hop on here, use all the basics, which is all I ever need anyways. And so I'll show you exactly what I came up with, and it was kind of genius for my purposes anyways. And I talked about this in the Wake Up and Smell the Dice video that I just posted. All right, where are you at here? There it is. So if you're going to be participating in the upcoming game, which I don't know who is yet, definitely don't watch this because it's going to show you everything. But I opened Google Hangouts, and I'll screen share it here in a second. And I opened Slides, which is like PowerPoint. And I strongly dislike PowerPoint as well. Just reminds me of school. But then I started playing around with it, and I was like, this is one of the best tools you could have, especially if you're running games online. And even more so for if you have, what's up, Matt? I just saw that, sorry. Even more so if you have dual monitors. So if you're a digital DM, if you have dual monitors, when you're running a game, try this method out. And I'm going to show you. I think it's great, though. I went off the night that I figured this out, and I started converting all these modules that I have. So I'll shut up and I'll screen share it here. Okay, hope you guys can see this. Like I said, I opened Slides and I just started going away. I typed like Dungeons and Dragons, Reavers of Harkenwald, Part 1, The Iron Circle. That's the name of the first book in the module because it's two small books. And then, next slide. Come on now. All right, so what I did to start with for this module is I just did the actual encounters. And this is a cool module in that it provides a ton of encounters for all sorts of different paths that they could take. But I put this up here and I was like, all right, it's encounter E1, Ileana's Plight. And so you've got two monster stat blocks. You've got this one here, the Iron Circle Brigands, which I converted to 5th edition. And I was like, really thinking, I was like, what do you need to run like a monster stat block in 5th edition? Like, what's the bare minimum that you actually need? Because in the actual book, there's a ton of stuff, especially in 5th edition. There's a ton of stuff that can be useful, but it's not necessary. Like languages. These are humans. They speak common. I don't need to write down that they know common. That's just a good example of what I didn't include. But I was like, all right, their name. I want to know which monster this is. How many hit points and what's their armor class? I took a tip out of Matt's book. Matt was talking in I think it was in our Brigade Con panel where he switches like armor and things on monsters, and that's such an easy way to make things so much more interesting. And so I was using that here, and I see, yeah, Matt uses Slides for Monster Matters. Nice. So the next thing I needed was their actual ability scores, and not just the scores, but I just put their mods here because honestly, I don't need the actual score for hardly anything. I just need the mods. And so I converted and put their mods right here. Then I've got their 2 attacks. Whoa, don't move that. I've got their 2 attacks. Come on, highlight. Right here, the main 2 attacks that they're going to be using. And then obviously bonus, this is another converted thing. I made a bonus action to where this guy can use his bonus action to have the target make a strength or a dex save, DC 13, or be pushed back, and then the brigand moves up into the square or area that person was in. That's something they had in 4th edition as just part of their attack, so I made it a bonus action. So now the next thing that I did, and you can see I made gray wolves over here. What do you use the most? In a fight, I want to be able to narrate. I want to be able to put all my attention on the players and not stat blocks. So I took their hit points, armor class, and the attack that their go-to attack, like the main thing they're going to use if they can, and I made them yellow. And especially on this darker background, this really pops out. So I can easily look to my one screen and be like, all right, it's a +5 to hit, roll die, roll the nat 1, so they're not going to hit. But if I did, it'd be a d6 +3 slashing. There I am. I don't have to search the stat block. It pops out. If they're ranged, I still have that attack here. I know where it is. But I made everything, like I said, really pop out that they're going to use for the main things here. All right, I'm going to check the chat here because I tend to ignore that. So Barker's asking, when it comes to converting monsters from 4E to 5E, do you have any references? And I have one, that mini terrain domain. I was in a hangout with him the other night and he gave me, and I think 4th edition's on there, but it's like the converter for all editions. I don't use that because I just got a hold of it. So for like 4th edition, what I do is I look at the monster in the 4E module or book, and then I open the one that's closest to it in the monster manual for 5th edition. So for the Iron Circle Brigands, it was obviously a bandit. I compare them. So I'm like, all right, they both have scimitars. That's great. But I really need to see in Reavers of Harkenwald, these bandits are like, they're hefty. Be a good word. They've got really good strength. They've got some good armor. And so I think I upgraded those a little bit from the 5th edition one just to reflect that these are tougher guys. I'm pretty sure they're even level 2 in 4th edition. No, sorry, Brigands are level 1, but still. So what I did is, like I said, I just compare the two and then make any necessary changes. The real art to it, which I may have not perfected yet, is stuff like this. Stuff like, okay, the bonus action. And I'll read it straight out of the 4th edition one. I've got it right here. Let's see, drive back. So drive back is an at-will power. It's an attack which just includes the regular like scimitar attack. But then if it hits, it obviously pushes that person back, and then the brigand follows up. So in 4th edition, this guy had 2 at-wills. He has the scimitar attack, and then the drive back. So why wouldn't you use the drive back every time? So in 5e, I was like, well, that'd be really cool just to have his regular scimitar attack, but then a bonus action that he could take to which the bonus action he could take to also have them try to be pushed back, but they can make a saving throw to stop that. I thought that'd be really cool. Plus it makes him give up that bonus action that round to be able to do that. It's not just included in the regular attack. Wolves over here, just so you can see, I obviously used wolves from the monster manual in 5th edition, but then adjusted them because in the 4th edition one, they had just a few things that were different. So I kind of find this nice mix between the two when I can. And I'll show you some more slides here in just a second. Having trouble with monsters like Warforged, which to my knowledge are only in 5th edition as playable characters. Right. Look up NPC stat blocks or whatever, racial bonuses. So I've got just every 4th edition book known to man. So I'm going to get one of the monster manuals, which is going to have a Warforged. Not sure which one, but I'll check it here, and then we'll actually convert one as best we can. Now I don't know where the 5th edition Warforged is right now. I don't have that article saved, I don't think. So I'm going to try to do this without. I told you how I do things, and now I'm doing them a different way. Okay. So let's see here. Okay. So I found Warforged. They're actually in the Monster Manual 2, no, regular Monster Manual for 4th edition. So some things here that we could actually do to convert these guys over. And I'm going to try to see. Oh, I just don't know if I have that 5th edition one. Dang it. I should have invited people to this actual Hangout who had it. But anyways, so first thing you have to think of, or that I do with it, is what level is it going to be? Like, what level do you want it to be, number one? And since there may not actually be a Warforged monster in 5th edition, it's kind of tough to say. So the 2 examples in the monster manual here are a Warforged Soldier, level 4, and then a level 6 Warforged Captain. So what we could do is we could actually find something in the monster manual for 5th edition that's going to be close to that. And definitely throw it in the chat if you have an idea on like a level 4, level 6 type of monster that's going to be close to that anyways. I'm going to check just in the back to see if we can get, here we go. How about a gladiator? How about a gladiator? All right, so if you have the 5th edition monster manual, grab it. This will make more sense to you. But let's throw up a screen share, and I'm just going to create a brand new monster right here. Just as an example for people that want to see it. Sorry, I just cracked open my computer today and tried to upgrade it. Upgrade the RAM. I think I was successful, but some things are bugging out. Here we go. All right, so I've just come to a new slide here. Now the easiest thing to do is come back to a previous slide, just copy the entire thing. Oops. Copy the entire thing, come over here, and paste the entire thing, except when it doesn't work like you want it to. There we go. All right, here we go. So we're going to create a Warforged Soldier, we'll call it. I'll use that one. So that's level 4 in the 4th edition monster manual, and the Gladiator is a challenge 5 in the actual 5th edition one. So it's kind of, there's not a direct correlation, obviously, between level and challenge level. So it's not a straight transfer, but we're going to do it anyways. So the biggest things to look at, number 1, hit points. Gladiator in 5th edition has 112 hit points. The Warforged Soldier has 56. So we've got to decide here, are we going to have this be a challenge 5, where it's actually going to challenge like a party of level 5 adventurers, or are we going to have it be a level 4 creature, which is considerably lower? Unless somebody disagrees in the chat, I'm just going to go that it's a challenge 5. Warforged are pretty badass. Somebody is turning on a weed whacker outside. Hang on. That was rude. Okay. So we're going to go make it a challenge 5. So we need to be a little bit closer to the Gladiator in the monster manual. So first things first, hit points 112. Until we have a reason to go otherwise, that's pretty good. Trust the professional game makers when you can. Armor class. Keep in mind, if you're just joining us, everything that's on this block right now is from another monster, so we'll be changing it. Armor class on this creature is a 16, which is studded leather. The armor class on the Warforged Soldier is actually 20. Now, again, here's the difference between 4th edition and 5th edition. 20 is insane. 20 is absolutely insane in 5th edition. So what we're going to look for here, I'm going to pull up the actual equipment page, because my next step is I look in the 4th edition one. It tells you what type of armor they've got too. He's got plate armor, a heavy shield, and a long sword. So let's look back at our gladiator, and he's got a shield, but he's got studded leather. Okay, we're getting closer. If I can get to the equipment page. Here we go. Don't worry about the weapon right now. We're doing armor. Barker, you're right. Who the hell weed whacks on a Monday at lunch? All right. Heavy armor. Plate. That's an armor class of an 18. They have to have at least a strength of a 15, which he clearly does. Even the gladiator does. So that's an armor class of an 18, and then the shield gives him a +2. So the shield actually would bump this to an armor class 20 if he's using it. So that just depends. I'll let somebody in the chat decide shield or no shield. He's going to have plate regardless. So it's going to be an 18 regardless. But are we giving him a shield? I'll let you guys decide. Like I said, throw that in the chat. And then let's move on to the next thing here. Longsword, and the gladiator in 5th edition has a spear. Okay, I think it makes a little more sense for a Warforged soldier to have a sword. And it looks like we're going with a shield. His entire arm is a shield. Are you talking like an attachment? Like he can like pop off his regular arm and like pop on a shield? Modular Warforged soldier? Either way, it's going to give him an armor class of a 20. Might be too much armor class. Yeah, he's going to be horribly tough to fight. However, another thing that came up in our Brigade Con panel is when you've got a high armor class and you've got somebody that's almost impossible to hit that way, that's when you've got to go another route. You've got to find that other strategy. You've got to get the wizard in there who, I don't know, maybe forces him to make dex saves or something, which I'm sure we're going to find out here are going to be garbage. But it would make for an interesting fight because they would really have to find another way. And I think a Warforged in plate armor with a shield, I don't know why you'd go up to that thing and swing a sword at it anyways. Like, you just got to be expecting to not hit much. So next thing we're going to do, let's run through the stats. So I'm going to put in, for those of you who don't have a monster manual with you, I'm going to put in the actual gladiator stats first, and then we can go through those. Gladiator's got no bonus to intelligence, a 1 on wisdom, and a 2 on charisma. You got to think a gladiator's got to have charisma just to survive, get the crowd in with him. Got to have some level of charisma. Whereas a Warforged soldier, he doesn't have to have that. But anyways, we'll get to that in a second. Let's just go down the line. Strength. 18 strength in 5th edition versus, and again, stats work a little differently in 4th since they can be upgraded a lot. 18 strength in 4th edition. So I think we're good. I think we're going to leave that as is at strength. Let's go to dex. Dex. 14 in 4th edition versus a 15. I think we're good there too. So we just move right on. Unless there's a big discrepancy, there's not a huge reason to change some of these, unless you have a reason to. Constitution of a 16 in 5th edition, and a Constitution of a 16 in 4th edition. There we go. Intelligence in 4th edition. Sorry, I'm going back and forth here. 10. Intelligence here, 10. I think we picked the perfect creature or thing from 5th edition to work with. Wisdom is a +1 in 5th at a 12, and Wisdom is a 12 in 4th edition. And then Charisma, here's where our discrepancy is. A Warforged has a 10 Charisma in 4th edition and a 15 on the Gladiator. So like I said before, we'll leave that one. Like I said, the Warforged probably doesn't have a need for a ton of Charisma, so we're going to drop him back to 0. He's got a hell of an armor class. No reason to bump this for no reason at all. All right, so the next thing we're going to do is attacks. Delete those out. So, and we'll come back and we'll do like, if you're looking at the Gladiator, you see like they've got Brave and they've got Brute. We'll come back and talk about those. Let's just do the numbers, the crunch right now. So Gladiator has multi-attack. He can make 3 melee attacks or 2 ranged attacks as an action. Now, I don't really see a reason that our Warforged needs that, especially since he's not necessarily a Gladiator, but we can come back to that too. So, Longsword. The Warforged soldier has a longsword in 4th edition. I think we give him a longsword. Longsword, and just so I get my format here. Yeah, okay. So longsword, and then I do plus whatever to hit. Now, stick with our 5th edition knowledge here, and we actually need to have some consistency. So where I look at 4th edition and he's got like a +9 to hit armor class, that has to do with the 4th edition system. We're not going to give him that here. He's got a strength of 4. He's probably proficient, so we can give him a +2 or a +3, depending on like his level for the proficiency bonus. So I'm going to say we're going to give him a +6, unless somebody disagrees. +6 to hit. Little bar there. And then we're going to list our damage on the other side. I'm going to check the chat here because we have some awesome stuff going on. Armor index could drop a bit to show him focusing on defense, not agility. Maybe reduce his speed too. For those just joining us, we're building a Warforged monster with 5e mechanics. Thank you, Barker. That's right. I forget people come in later. Arm crossbow. Longsword is the other arm. Oh, geez. His legs are bow staffs. Oh, man. I don't even know how to stat that. We're just going to say he's got all these attachments at home, and sometimes like he'll leave home with his bow staff legs, but sometimes he just wants his regular walking legs. Maybe he's got like something on his belt where he can carry one attachment so he can pop off the crossbow and stick on his longsword arm, something like that. Anyways, we'll list what he's got now. But what I like to do here is I like to go and make sure that I'm consistent within the player's handbook for like longswords, for instance. And it's a good thing if you're not familiar with the actual crunch of weapons and armor to keep going back to the book. So longsword is D8 slashing, and it's versatile. So obviously you can use it two-handed to deal D10. However, we've got a shield or possible other attachments. So he's going to use it one-handed. So that's D8 slashing damage plus his strength. That's what I'm going to give him. So D8 plus his 4 mod for strength as slashing damage. So right there, we've got his actual attack with a longsword. So, honestly though, I love imagining Warforged being built for a specific purpose. Yeah, we have an awesome Warforged in our 4th edition campaign. His name is 3, and his god built 4 Warforged. Haramather was his god. He built 1, whose name is 1, and so on. 1, 2, 3, and 4. 3 is the cleric, and he's Haramather's mercy. 1, I think, is the paladin. He's like called Haramather's justice. Anyways, it's a sweet story, but he's one of the coolest characters I've ever seen. He's very unique. But anyways, next thing we need to do is take a look at what else does the Warforged have from 4th edition. Remember, we're not actually making a gladiator. That's just our stat block. So I'm going to ignore a lot of this. I'm probably going to ignore like the shield bash. Well, maybe we'll come back to that. But as far as the parry, the brave, the brute, we're gonna actually ignore those because we're gonna look at what does the Warforged have from 4th edition. So Warforged has what are called battlefield tactics. They get a +1 bonus to melee attacks if an ally is adjacent to the target. So we could call that battlefield tactics still, and we could say that they have advantage on attacks. What else has that? Like a rogue's got that. We'll come back to that too. Warforged Resolve in 4th edition is a minor action when they're bloodied once per encounter. They gain 14 temporary hit points. And so again, we could do something with that. So throw up your ideas in the chat. We'll see what else we can do. Other things, they've got any alignment, like I said, language common. We don't need to put those. Skills, they have a +8 to endurance and a +7 to intimidate. Now, when you include things like that, so intimidate, for instance, they could have a proficiency in intimidate in 5th edition or advantage on intimidate checks, but it's an example of something that I would not put on this simple stat block unless they seriously were going to use it. Like, you know your party. You know what they're going to do most of the time. Do you think they're going to try to talk to this Warforged soldier in the situation you're putting them in? If so, make sure you know he's got advantage or a proficiency to intimidate. If not, don't worry about it. So we're going to say battlefield tactics +1 if it has an ally adjacent to the target. I had that on another monster here. We're going to find him. Might be the wolf. Advantage on attack rolls when an ally is within 5 feet of the target. There it is. I'm going to copy and paste. Give your game some consistency using the same thing for different monsters. It does the same, basically the same purpose. Now, in 4th edition, it is just a +1 to attack rolls if he's got an ally adjacent, but we're just going to go ahead and give him full-on advantage. He's going to be one tough son of a bitch. So he's got advantage there. Other things that the Warforged has in 4th edition, not a lot. I guess we could look at the captain. Captain's got quite a bit. He's got battlefield tactics, tactical switch, Warforged Resolve. Okay, so Warforged Resolve appears to be something they all have, so we need to figure that out. In 4th edition, it's giving them temporary hit points, which, geez, I don't even know if there's temporary hit points in 5th. I don't think so. But let's call it Warforged Resolve. Von Trodden, welcome. Are you doing things based on time or location in how you are structuring the session? I'm not sure what you mean by that. Doing things based on time or location. Yeah, I guess there's a few things I'm thinking you might be considering there. Yeah, let me know what you're actually thinking. Sorry that I don't get that. Out of character says there are temporary hit points in 5th. That's news to me. That's something I actually have never used. So what do you guys think? Do you think we give them some temporary hit points? Do you think they just get a spend a hit die? Do you think, I mean, do you have a better idea? Because here's where we can have fun with this. When we're giving them these extra abilities, have fun with it. Come up with something totally new if you want, but we want to be inspired by what they have in the edition we're converting from. So again, this level 4 soldier in 4th edition gains 14 temporary hit points, and the level 6 captain gains 18. He can use it once per encounter. So we'll come up with something there. Throw it in the chat. Fontrodden says, and then are you listing your encounters in a set order of time, or are you just laying them out like a dungeon? Since I see parts, I'm assuming there's an order. So what you're looking at here in the screen share is an actual module from 4th edition, where basically what I've done is I've gone page for page through the module and just converted each encounter, like the actual stat blocks. And so you can see it's just going straight in order of the book. Now, if you read this actual module, it tells you these can happen at very different times. This is usually going to be the first encounter, E1, but then the decision they make here could send them, clear down to one of the other encounters. And the thing that I like about Google Slides, especially for an online game with 2 screens, is that I can have this on one of my screens and I can see this nice menu to the left, or the thumbnails, and if they jump around, I can just jump to that. And so this is laid out, like I said, just in the exact order that the book is in, which could end up being the order they do things, but most likely will not be. And this module is actually written pretty well in that there could be quite a few of these encounters that they never even see, because it gives them a nice couple branches on, okay, how are they going to achieve the end goal? Are they going to go this way, or this way? And so some of the encounters they may never get to because they don't need to achieve the end goal. All right, out of character's got an idea. If an attack were to drop them to 0 hit points or lower, they instead drop to 1 hit point, maybe with a kind of Constitution save. All right, so the next question is, do we want to make them do a save? Or do they just have that first time they're dropped to 0, they're actually dropped to 1? They resist basically being taken out on that blow. So that's the next thing to decide, is do we want to make them have a save, or does that just happen? In the 4th edition, one, keep in mind, it's just basically an at-will power to get those hit points back. They don't have to roll or anything. But like I said, we can do that. We can make them roll in this one. So I'm going to leave that up to you to decide there in the chat. But yeah, back to your question, Fontrod, and this is one of my first times using slides. This module is actually the first time using it. So there's a lot of possibilities here. You could actually write out an entire module, like homemade module in Google Slides. I'm just doing the encounter, like the monster stat blocks, for easy reference, because I have a physical book with the actual story and role-playing tips and things like that. But this would be a great way to actually write a module, I think, because you could throw it up on Google Drive, you could share it with people, easy access to, you could put it into actual present mode, like presentation mode. There's just so many possibilities with this. Pictures, I've only got one with the actual picture of the Rage Drake, which was an interesting conversion, by the way. But you could have pictures of the monsters, you could have pictures of locations, You could make these slides so much prettier than I have. My goal, if you watch the first part of this video, I talk about my frustration in organizing like converted modules. My goal was just to make very simple information, like the bare bones that I needed from this, and convert that. So that's why you see just numbers, not fancy, highlighted what I'm going to use the most. But yeah, you could do so much with slides. It's just a really, really cool tool. Okay, back to our Warforged here. If you use the save, they could keep resisting, but if we make it a one-time ability, it can only happen once. I guess it depends on how annoying you want them to be. That's a good point. Let's go ahead and give them the save. Let's make it pretty tough, though. So do you think they need to make like a 15 or a 14 Constitution save? 15 or 14 is what I'm thinking right off the top of my head. That would not be just easy to make every single time, because keep in mind he's got a Constitution bonus or mod of 3. So somewhere in there. And then we got to structure it. How are we going to word this? What are we going to call it? We could just call it Warforged Resilience, which I think was that 4th edition one. Why did I close my book? Here we go. Warforged Resolve. Warforged Resolve. Make this, and again, this is just totally unnecessary, the stuff I'm doing here. But 10 plus the damage they, 10 plus half damage. There you go. Because we got some higher level characters fighting them. That might be insane. So I'm going to type it up first, and then we can reorganize if we need to. When an attack would drop the Warforged to 0 hit points, Warforged, or I'm just going to say it makes a con save DC 10 plus half the damage of the attack. A success allows the Warforged to retain 1 hit point. So that's really long. That's the longest thing I've typed for these slides. 14 would work well. I mean, there, yeah, let's do 14. I like this idea. I'm not smart enough to sum it up in a shorter way. Where an attack would drop the Warforged to 0, it makes a con save DC 14 to retain 1 hit point. There we go. Obviously, if he doesn't make it, you know the other way. And another thing to keep in mind here is I'm getting very picky with this. I'm not typing more because I'm assuming that I would be the one running this monster, so I know what happens if he doesn't make it. If you're actually typing up a module for others, like to sell or to give to others, then you have to be a little bit clearer on what the consequences are on both sides. So next thing we need to do is, for me as a DM, and I'd be interested to see all of you, what information would you highlight? If this is our final stat block for the Warforged, and we could give it a nice 3-pixel border. Whoa, that's bright. I wouldn't use a border, but just for the screen share, we will. What would you highlight? For me, it's going to be that longsword attack, just so I can see those numbers. The biggest thing for me is the numbers. I want to know the numbers quickly. That way I can focus on narration. I know that this is only going to happen when he's just about to be taken out, so I know it's there when I need it. Advantage on attack rolls when an ally is within 5 feet. Again, that's just something I'm going to have to remember. If I know he's going to be fighting alongside a bunch of allies, I might highlight that. But for me, it's usually just hit points, armor class, and attack. Be curious to what everybody else thinks is the most important thing. Ooh, we got some more comments here. If we make one time, it just depends on that. Yeah. So, okay, let's stop the screen share here. I'm being antisocial. Ooh, about stop the broadcast. That's not what we want. All right. By the way, I got my Brigade Con shirt, everybody, and they're awesome. Upon taking fatal damage, the Warforged makes a DC 15 con save. On a successful save, the Warforged drops to 1 hit point instead. That's actually a much better way to word that. Or 14, yeah. Maybe highlight the con save to 1 hit point. Yep. And that's just it. If you use these slides, I honestly didn't know. Matt said at the beginning of the chat that he used these slides. It doesn't surprise me. Matt's a genius. But they're so handy. Like, I was so pumped the night that I figured that out, the night that I stumbled upon that, because I've been so frustrated trying to convert various monsters to 5th edition. I just had no way to do it that I liked. I didn't want to write out all those note cards. I didn't want to write it in a notebook. But yeah, if you're running adventures online, if you have 2 screens, like I said, 2 monitors, you're running online and you just pop that up on one of them. You could even do it in the presentation mode. You obviously wouldn't have the thumbnails, but it's just quick enough to just arrow through them. But then you've just got monster stats on one screen, just perfect for you. Another way you could do it is to put a picture. You could put the stat block on one side. Now, I know I had usually 2 monsters on a page or 2 creatures, but you could put the stat block on one side and then you could just put the picture on the other. So if, like I said, you could screen share pictures if you like to do that as a DM, but if you don't, you could be looking at that monster just on your slides and describing what it looks like to the characters if you prefer just doing the narration and not tossing up a picture. So there's just a lot you can do with them. And I think it's so cool that you could just easily share it with somebody. With Google Docs, obviously, you could just type in somebody's email address and share it with them, and they could see it. It's a cool way for the community, I think, to write maybe small, fun modules that aren't super fancy, but you get the meat of it to the person who needs it. So I'd be interested to hear everybody else's ideas for that, because obviously you could make them extremely fancy. You could put in like borders and pictures. It's not a good way if you plan on obviously publishing something. This is more for ease of use for somebody else. So it's just a cool way. You can make it as fancy as you want. I'm just in love with this slides option, as you can tell. So anyways, we converted our Warforged. Let me run through. Let's run through and see. I think we did everything. We got the, yeah, I'm gonna screen share it again. I'm sorry, I'm so disorganized today. Share, okay. So we've got our Warforged set up here, 112 hit points, armor class of 20. So your party better find some other way than just hitting him with metal to take him out. He's got extremely good strength, not bad dex. We could probably even drop his dex, because what I forgot was that the plate armor actually affects dexterity. I had that on my mind, and then I was going to go back and do it, and I didn't. So you obviously have a disadvantage on stealth, but we could take that even to the next level, and we could just say that his dexterity, maybe he just doesn't have a bonus right now to dexterity. So then he's got no bonus there. He's got intelligence, not great, not very charismatic. Wisdom's okay. He's got his main attack, which is a +6 to hit with a longsword, dealing D8 +4 slashing damage each time. He's got advantage on attack rolls when an ally is within 5 feet. He's obviously got Warforged Resolve. I feel like he's still missing something to make him deadlier on the attack side, and I think what he's missing is what our Gladiator had, or some form of that. So the Gladiator has the multi-attack, or he's got Brute. Brute is that a melee weapon deals 1 extra die of damage when the Gladiator hits with it, included in the attack. And honestly, let's see. A melee weapon deals 1 extra die of its damage when the Gladiator hits with an attack, hits with it included in the attack. Yeah, so why don't we just bump it? Why don't we just say deals 2d8 +4 instead of writing all that? There we go. I feel a lot better about that. Not for the players, but advantage on his attack rolls when an ally is within 5 feet and is resolved, which could potentially keep him standing for a while, depending on if luck or chance is on his side. So there you go. There's a Warforged Soldier for 5th edition Dungeons and Dragons as a monster or opponent. Yeah, that was kind of fun. But that's how I go through and actually convert, at least from 4th edition to 5th. I have more experience and resources with 4th, so that's why I'm not converting like 3rd edition monsters. I'm sure it's the exact same, but just pull up both of them, or pull up the monster in the old edition and then just pull up something close to it, like we pulled up our Gladiator in 5th, and then just see how they can work together. Remember, since we're making it a Warforged, we wanted to do make more stuff align with that Warforged block, but it's pretty easy to convert. But like I said, I've obviously never tested this out, so that would also depend on how this actually played out in a game. But yeah, that's our block. Let's see. I'll give you guys a sneak peek here as well. So I've been working on just a supplement for, it's for the tabletop RPG one-shot group. Somebody had a good discussion going the other day of, using other people's settings, using other people's modules and running them, which I think is really, really cool that people are doing that. So I asked the question, like, what do you need to run somebody else's setting or module? What type of information do you want? How much are you willing to read? And I got a lot of different answers, And so I started writing this small supplement, which I'm going to pull up here and show you guys. But I'm making this for the one-shot group. So anybody who wants to run this setting can use it. I'm trying to make it look good. I don't have Photoshop. No, I wouldn't know how to use it if I had it, truthfully. Here we go. Let's see here. See if I can screen share this guy. But yeah, since you're here, why not share this? You can see it ahead of time. I've talked about it, but I've never really said much. So, like I said, I don't have Photoshop. I'm not a graphic designer, but I wanted to make it look somewhat cool for people running it. I didn't want to just do the bare bones like the slides. So I put together a setting called that I've been working on called Ezeros. And Ezeros is going to be kind of let's call it this channel's setting. It's going to be what I try to make some things for everybody, a setting that I'm working on so that you can use it, so that you can have fun with it. I'm going to run some stuff in it. But what I did was I put together basically 4 pages. It's going to be no longer than 4 pages of a PDF giving you everything you need to know about Ezeros, also called the Broken Sky. And so I'll give you this preview here. You've got, welcome. It talks about just a quick rundown of the setting. It talks about the playable races in the setting, anything that they have beyond just the player's handbook, or where to find them, like the Eladrin subrace. Variant human is what you're going to use. Dwarves, Dragonborn. Just a quick rundown there. But then we've got the lore on page 2. So you've got the broken sky. Like, what is the broken sky? Well, it's right here. Won't talk about it. Like I said, I'm going to release this for free to anyone who wants it. The ninth altar, which is basically a rundown of religion really quickly. The lattice of Ezeros, which is a really, really cool thing. Then we've got a chart here, a table. D12, altar declaration. The altar, the ninth altar, is basically religion. It's the religion of Ezeros. But this, like I said, this is designed for you to run Ezeros in the one-shot group in either a campaign, an adventure, a one-shot, whatever. But each time you do it, you could roll a d12 if you wanted, and the ninth altar will make a declaration. So for your game, if you roll, well, screw it. I've got dice here. Let's just do it. Oh, where is a d12? Here we go. So I'm preparing an Ezeros one-shot. I come to the ninth altar table, and for this one-shot, the altar declares that all alcohol belongs to the Empire. Very simple. They're very simple little things that you can use however you want. So for the next one-shot, the altar declares that all dwarves must work for free. These can have major repercussions within the one-shot of the game. And you can use them or you don't have to. Like I said, this PDF is designed to give you the basics of the setting. I thought, what could I give you that you can run something that feels like Ezeros, but you also have almost complete control over what this stuff means. The lattice of Ezeros, like I said, is something really cool. Emperor Thamior is, this just talks about the actual emperor real quick here. The NPCs page, I give you some interesting NPCs to run or use. So the example here with Lieutenant Peleus, he's more of a low-level villain, and Lieutenant Zoloshan is more of a high-level assassin. She's pretty nasty. But, example NPCs based on what level you're going to run a one-shot or campaign in. Origin, he's a really cool NPC. A little quote by him: "You, me, chaos, order, we're all one." Anastriana and Finland, 2 more. And then I give you a nice little chart here for if you're coming up with your own NPCs based on what percentage of the population are certain races. If you want to roll for it, you certainly can. Or you can just use this table to see that, okay, about 50% of people in Ezeros are human. About 30% are Eladrin. So you can, again, use it however you want, but I know some people like tables. So yeah, this is just a cool PDF that's going to be released. It's almost finished. The final page is going to have like a hand-drawn map of Ezeros with some interesting locations, some cities, towns, things like that. But yeah, it's a 4-page document. Like I said, built for the one-shot group for anybody that just they want a quick setting. It's one of my favorite settings that I've ever built, and I just thought it'd be cool to have a PDF. So that's coming soon. You need to finish the map today. I should have this out within a week. But I'm thinking of doing some more of these types of things, some just free, simple PDFs, again, with me just trying to make them look good without Photoshop. And yeah. So that's what I've been working on. I got to draw Ezeros still today. I've still got to convert some more 4th edition modules to 5th edition. So that'll be fun. But yeah, we'll continue this hangout for a little bit. I'm not super busy today, so if you have questions, throw them in the chat. I'm trying to watch that. But some other stuff, let's see here. Some other things that we've been working on. I want to try to do a mapping video like Nate did for WASD 20. That's really cool how he's a much better mapper than I am, but how he's got it set up so you can actually watch him do a map. I need to figure out how he does that better. I don't really have a good setup to record live the actual map itself, but I think that'd be fun just to do a map with everyone to just hang out and do that. Like, I wish I had more to do right here in front of you. But if you want, like I said, throw your questions up in the chat. I'm just going to throw up a screen share again of those Google Slides, and I'm just going to start converting this module and talking about it. So it should be fun. If you want to play in the Reavers of Harkenwald, keep an eye out in the one-shot group. I'm thinking within the next 2 weeks is when the game will be posted, and then hopefully within the next 2 to 4 weeks is when it'll actually be played. It's a short adventure. It's a short adventure, so it's not a one-shot per se. So I would like a small group that could meet, I don't know, maybe once a month at the most to run through this cool adventure. So before I get to working on this more, how do you go about creating your gods? Okay, so here is my cop-out answer there. I don't. I created gods for my setting Air, which is a really cool setting, loved it, but I created the gods and the characters, or the players, I guess, just didn't care. Like, creating gods is a very difficult thing to do right. There's a lot of things you have to consider. Main man, Ander, Wood WWAD on YouTube, has one of the best videos in his campaign building series of things to consider and how to actually build gods in a pantheon. But when I did it, it was a lot of work. I didn't like them. They weren't interesting to me. And I think that's because I knew that I created them, if that makes sense. I just enjoy using gods that are in actual settings. So like for my home world that we play most of our games in, we used the Dawn War deities, which I think are in the 5th edition Dungeon Master's Guide. Near the beginning, they have a little table with them. Yeah, it's on page 10 of the Dungeon Master's Guide. The Dawn War deities are exactly what we use. Those were kind of the 4th edition, the big ones for 4th edition. It's a very, very good pantheon. It's not overbearing like some of them, which have like 50 different gods. They have really cool domains, just really cool stories to them. And the Dawn War is one of the coolest storylines I've ever seen. So there's my cop-out answers. I just don't create them. What I did for the Ezeros PDF is the 9th altar is the 9th, basically the 9th religion. So every time a new altar is formed, they also form the religion. They tell everyone what to believe because nobody has ever actually like seen or interacted with gods. So it's very political. And since it's a setting built for others to use, I didn't define it beyond that. I just said that, it's an extremely corrupt group, the 9th altar, that created the new set of standards people need to follow. It's the first one that allows or encourages demonic worship. And from there, you just take it and run with it. You can come up in your one shot or in your adventure with what the actual gods are. You can do whatever you want. But again, that was built for other people to use. So I would watch Main Man's video on creating gods or pantheons. It's the best one I've seen. I know there's more, but definitely do that. DMG Punk tuned in late, curious to see how this slide thing works. Well, you're not too late because we're getting back to it. So we created this Warforged soldier a little bit ago, converted it from a 4th edition monster manual into a 5th edition, pretty tough monster. So we have that, but I'm actually going to skip over that and continue converting the module that I'm working on. So let's go create a new slide. I'm going to recreate this slide. So in the module I'm working on, it's encounter T1 entry cavern. And I put part 1 because I know I'm going to need 2 slides. Bullywug Mucker is the name of the monster. So I already got started on it, so let's just continue. So Bullywug Mucker is this 4th edition monster. So in 5th edition, what I'm going to do is I'm going to find the Bullywug in the monster manual, and we're going to convert these guys. Page 35. All right, Bullywug, looks like there's just one in 5th edition. That's fine. At least we have the right race here to convert. So in 5th edition, the Bullywug has 11 hit points. The Mucker in 4th edition has 34. Again, these are different systems, so you kind of have to know what you want. I'm running a 5th edition game, so I'm probably needing closer to that 11 hit points, which I have here. Armor class of a 12. They actually have a 15 armor class in 5th edition. They're wearing hide armor and they have a shield. They have leather armor and no shield in the 4th edition module. So I'm going to go with that. I'm going to give them leather armor, which would give them, I believe, is that an 11? 11 plus your dex mod. Again, these are just great opportunities to actually go look these things up. Need to bookmark this page. 11 plus dex mod. So I'm going to give him an 11 armor class because we don't know what his dex mod is yet. So let's convert the actual stats and numbers over. So in 5th edition, you have 1, 1, 1, -2, 0, -2. Pretty close to this. Oops. But we have a 2, 2, 2 here. Why do we have that? Because the Mucker's stats, his strength is much higher, the con is higher, dex, intelligence, those are all higher. In fact, strength is actually a 3. 2, 2 is good, and then we can stick with those. All right. Now we need to come up with their attacks. How are they attacking different in 5th edition versus 4th? So in 5th, they have a bite attack and a spear. In 4th, they have a spear. So we're going to stick with the spear attack. Now we need to figure out what their to hit is, which we need to look more towards 5th edition for, since that's the system we're using. So in 5th edition, he has a +3 to hit, and that makes pretty good sense. He's got a +1 strength, though, in 5th. We upped his strength by 2, so we need to up that +3 to hit by 2. So he actually has a +5 hit. Put a bar, now we work on damage. So in 5th edition, this spear attack is actually going to deal a d6 +1. Remember, our strength mod is actually 3, so we're going to do 1d6 +3. And this is piercing damage. 1d6 piercing. If he uses 2 hands, it's obviously a d8 piercing because it's a versatile weapon. But I don't know. Well, we actually don't have a shield in 4th, so we're just going to give him, we're going to assume he's always using it. 2 hands. Now, the other thing I do with these is I will up this or make it yellow because I want yellow to be obviously sticking out the stuff that I'm going to use the most, which is usually hit points, armor class, and attack. We do need to update the armor class, though. It's 11 plus dex mod for leather. Dex mod is 2, so it's actually got an armor class of 13. change the text color back. All right, so Bullywugs have a lot of extra things in both 4th and 5th edition. So we need to look at what are we going to give them? Geez, they have a multi-attack, so they can make 2 melee attacks, with one with a bite, one with a spear. They've got bite attack, which they don't have in 4th edition. I think I'm going to leave the bite attack out. Bullywugs are already goofy enough to me. They don't need to be going around biting everyone. They'll be more sentient, use their spears. Standing leap, long jump is up to 20 feet, and a high jump is up to 10 feet, with or without a running start. So that's good to know. Swamp camouflage, advantage on stealth checks in the swamps. Can breathe in air and water. Can communicate with frogs and toads. So I don't need to write a lot of that down. The only one I would consider is advantage on stealth checks. And again, it's in swamps, advantage on stealth checks. I'm not even going to put in swamps though, because they're only in a swamp in this module. They're not anywhere else. So advantage on stealth checks. I don't care about their long jump or their high jump. I know that they're frogs and that they can jump. So if it ever comes down to them having to jump, I'm just going to give them a good one. Now looking at the 4th edition, they ignore difficult terrain in like mud or shallow water. So again, something to keep in mind in the swamp. It's not going to hinder them. Nature's Release, they have a healing. Any attacker that scores a critical hit against the Bullywug regains 3 hit points. Now that is interesting. I don't know that I'm going to bring that over. They're aquatic. Yeah. Rancid Air. Any enemy that spends a healing surge within their aura is weakened until the end of their next turn. Again, not something I care to bring over to 5th edition. So these Bullywugs are going to be pretty much complete as is. Now, there's a difference here. We have Bullywug Leapers also in this encounter. So it's a different variant on a Bullywug. So the best thing to do is to just copy this and then bring it over here. There we go. Now we can edit this. So we have a Bullywug Leaper that we have to create now. So the biggest things, we know what the 5th edition model looks like. We're very comfortable with what we've taken from the 5th edition version. So we need to focus more on what is this Leaper in 4th edition. It's got less hit points than the Mucker in 4th edition, but 11's quite low, so I'm going to leave that. Equipment, it actually does not have any armor, but it has a higher armor class in 4th edition. Why is that? Oh, it's got a crazy dexterity. That's why. Yeah, it's got a very crazy dex. So what we need to consider here is its base armor class is just a 10. It's not wearing any armor. But I think what we're going to do is we are going to allow, and I'm not sure rules-wise, armor class. If anybody in the chat knows, armor class, you can do 10 plus your dex mod, but doesn't it like max out? Like, can't you only do like dex mod up to +2 on your armor class? Let's see. If you know off the top of your head, let me know. Anyways, he's got a high dex, so we're gonna come to that here in a second. We need to do his scores first. So strength is considerably lower than the Mucker. Their strength is actually going to be 1 less. Dex is a full-on 18. These leapers, AC is only limited if you're wearing. Thank you. That's what I had thought, but then I thought I was wrong. So now that we know that AC is only limits your dex if you're wearing armor, we're going to give that full bonus of a +4. So it is actually still higher in 5th edition here after converting, which is pretty cool. Oh, skipped con. So Constitution, we're looking at the Leaper having, they have no bonus. So I'm going to give them no bonus. Intelligence, again, no bonus, and Charisma is actually a -1. So we're going 0, 0. I'm just going to pull those straight over from 4th edition because it's not really going to matter for a lot of those. They're average to bad when they're still average to bad. Now, his attack is also a spear. He has javelins as well. And then spasmodic leap. It can make an attack. So we got a D8 plus, we need to adjust this because his strength is lower, remember. We're also going to adjust it to hit. So spear there. He's got a spasmodic leap, which is a recharge action in 4th edition, so it's not at will. It's more of so how recharge works is every round to get it back, you roll a d6, and if you roll one of the options that recharges it, then you get it back. So in 5th edition, this would be to be interesting. It's not something we want him to be able to do every turn. So what I might do is just make his attacks like these jumping attacks, because basically spasmodic leap jumps like 15 feet before making the attack, not provoking opportunity attacks. And then he does quite a bit more damage to them. So I'm actually going to say that this is his normal attack. He still has advantage on stealth checks, but also got, we'll call it, we'll give it a shout out to the 4th edition version. It's the bullywug, I'll say the leaper. The leaper moves 15 feet before attacking. Deal 2d8 plus 3. So these are things you want to basically stay out of range of, because if they're jumping like through the air and then coming down with a spear, obviously that's deadly. That's terrible. So if the leaper moves 15 feet before attacking, deal 2d8 plus 3. But now thinking, let's see, that's pretty bad. I'm trying to think. Sorry, in my head, I know what this module is. I know that the characters are fairly low level, so I don't want to create this enemy that's going to easily be able to wipe them out. So again, ideas in the chat if you've got any. This spasmodic leap might be too much. That can be pretty devastating to even a 2nd level character, especially if it's something that this creature can do every turn. If Leaper moves 15 feet before attacking, deal 2d8 plus 3. I have to think on that one. Because in this encounter, there's basically 2 muckers, 2 leapers, and then we actually have 3 sturges. So we're going to have to make sure that other stuff is fairly low level. Or another thing I could do to balance this out is say that these guys are only going to use spears one-handed. So d6 plus 3. Again, this guy d6 plus 2. So making this 2d6 plus 3. So yeah, I mean that could work. It might take out somebody in the party. Hopefully not kill them, but we'll leave it at that unless we get a better idea. Let's create the new slide with the sturges now. Again, be as lazy as you can with the slides, copy and paste. Still encounter T1, but it's part 2. I'm just going to copy this to get the template down. Obviously, this is a totally different monster, so we're not going to use probably hardly anything, but we'll get that template there. So now what I need to do is find Sturge in the 5th edition monster manual. So for that, I'm going to go to 284. Follow along if you so wish. And so we got Sturges, all right. They've got a blood drain. So in 4th edition, basically what they have is while the Sturge has a creature grabbed, it gains a +5 bonus to armor class and reflex. So some of that's not going to matter in 5th. In 5th edition, they have blood drain as their only attack. And so a +5 to hit deals 1d4 +3. They do 1d4 +5 in 4th, so we're pretty close here. The Sturge attaches itself to the target. When attached, the Sturge doesn't attack. Instead, at the start of its turn, the target loses 1d4 +3 hit points due to blood loss. Can detach by spending 5 feet of movement and drains 10 hit points from the target, or the target dies. Creature, including the target, can use its action to detach from the Sturge. Okay, that's interesting. So this should be a fairly easy convert since there is Sturge in 5th edition, and since the 4th edition one is just a base monster, doesn't really have anything special. So we've got hit points. Ooh, they've only got 2 hit points. That helps a lot make this more balanced. We're getting worried there. 2 hit points. Armor class, which is natural, is 14. Again, they don't have any armor. We're going to go straight up bonuses from 5th edition here. This is an easy monster. If you have any questions, post them in the chat. I'd be happy to answer them on what we're doing here. All right, so now we get to the actual attack, which for this monster is a big chunk of text. So the real art comes in, how are we bringing that down a notch? So it's Blood Drain is the name of the attack. Blood Drain is a +5 to hit. And it's going to deal 1d4 +3. Again, we're not converting any of their actual ability scores here, so we're going to use the exact numbers. 1d4 +3 piercing. All right, and I'm going to keep this yellow because I want to highlight this next part because I've not used Sturges enough to be comfortable knowing everything and remembering it. Sturge attaches itself. It's attached to the target. And I don't think it has to attack. Target just loses hit points. Target loses 1d4 +3 hit points each round it is attached. Use an action. Let's see. Target may use its action to detach. Simple enough. I'm sure it could, again, be worded better, but that's our Sturge right there. So the next fun thing we're going to do is I'm going to find an image of a Sturge and probably put it here, but I won't do that now. So yeah, there's encounter T1 of Reavers of Harkenwald, totally converted stat-wise. There's some other things to keep in mind, so I could put definitely put down here. You could do a little text box at the bottom to make any other notes, which is the nice thing that I haven't even talked about yet. But some features of the area, we've got the illumination, the ceiling, fungus patch. So there's different types of mushrooms in this area that have different effects. So I could put those down here. Down here, you could also put the treasure. One of the leapers has a leather satchel containing 30 gold pieces and 100 silver pieces. Again, that's just an example of something you could put at the bottom. You could put notes down there. You could put read aloud text. You can put absolutely whatever you want. Like, this is just such a neat tool, especially if you're running online games. In-person games might be a little bit tougher unless you're comfortable using a laptop. But you can put whatever you want on these slides. You can, like we talked earlier, you can write an entire module that you're not planning on publishing, at least, and you could arrange it here to look good. You could arrange it like I do, just with the important information I need to run an encounter. But yeah, like, it's just so many possibilities with Google Slides. So that was me converting one of those awesome encounters from 4th edition to 5th, because like I said, in about 2 weeks or so, I'm going to post in the one-shot group, and I'm going to run my first game in the one-shot group. I've actually only played in one from the one-shot group, in Nate from WASD 20's game a couple months ago. That was a lot of fun, but that was my first one actually playing in the one-shot group. So, Mini Terrain Domain, welcome, sir. I feel like your Bullywug Leaper should be CR 1/2 instead of 1/4, so the encounter might need to be adjusted accordingly. Good observations, actually, because, and again, like, I'm the type of DM where I know my players, I know my DMing style. If I create an encounter that is, I don't like fudging dice a lot of times, like I really don't, but I know how to adjust on the fly. If I create an encounter that's just gonna wipe them out that shouldn't, if they're fighting like bullywugs and all of a sudden I realize, oh man, I made these guys way too hard. I know how to do things on the fly. I'm comfortable enough with my style to where I can work into the story and make them adjusted on the fly. But you're right, as for people who rely a little bit more on actual numbers to create the encounters, yeah, you may want to take a look at that. This is not a perfect conversion method by any means. But it works for me, at least, and it could work for you. You just have to do it your way. So, Mini Terrain Domain, Dibs, I would love to have you in the game, man, and I will definitely be giving people a heads up. I have reached out to one player in particular that I really want in the game, and he's agreed that if it works time-wise, obviously, that he'll be in it. But the rest, I'm going to open up to the one-shot group to basically jump in and join, and then I will obviously finalize a list of players. But like I said, this is Reavers of Harkenwald. This is the first book, but it's a really fun one for a group of adventurers. It's going to be, I don't know yet, like maybe 5 or 6 sessions tops. It might be fewer than that. But looking to play once a month, once a month at the most. So it's not a big commitment to people. We'll make sure the timing works and everything. Wizard Dragon, welcome, my man. Coming in late to the chat. I'm sure somebody already told you this, but the 5e Warforged are in the Eberron Unearthed Arcana. Yeah, we talked about that a little bit. And isn't it a playable race, or a like a player character race, or is it an actual like monster stat block? I wasn't sure. Barker mentioned that it was in the Unearthed Arcana, and I am not, I'm not familiar enough with it. I read it once, the Eberron one. I've played in Eberron. Played in 3 different campaigns in Eberron, actually. 4th edition, awesome setting. I just didn't have that at my disposal. However, since I was so graciously hooked up with by a viewer, in fact, I have every monster manual. There's 3, there's 2, all the 4th edition monster manuals. I probably have like 11 different books on my shelf that shout out to this person. I'm not going to say his name, but I posted that I was looking for these and that I was willing to pay for them. Like, here's 6 or 7 4th edition books I have, or that I don't have, that I want. If anyone's selling them, hit me up. And he just sent them to me for free. Like, he wouldn't take anything. He wouldn't even let me pay for shipping. He sent me like 11 or 12 total in 2 different shipments, books for 4th edition. So I have this shelf just full of awesome 4th edition resources. And it's so easy to convert this stuff to 5th edition, especially like modules, because obviously stories aren't edition specific. But anyways, the point of that was we used the Warforge in this video from the actual monster manual to convert over. And then we used the 5th edition template for the Gladiator in the back of the monster manual as our starting point for that Warforged. MTD has never actually played Reavers. If I don't play, I'll watch for sure. Well, I hope it works. I would definitely love having you play, but it will be a fun one to watch. And then when I'm done running Reavers, I have so many more that I want to run from 4th edition. I'm going to do this theme. We'll call it Legends of the Nenter Vale, because I have tons of Nenter Vale stuff from 4th edition. It's one of my favorite settings because it's so simple, but it's so rich with just stories. It's just cool. I think it was so well designed and so underappreciated that I'm going to just be running one-shots from the Nenter Vale, from the setting Ezeros, which I detailed earlier in this video. But most of them, we're going to start with Nenter Vale. I've got, let's see, the Monster Vault, which has like Cairn of the Winter King, I think, in it, which is a great module. The Red Box, which has, there's like a temple, like a Minotaur temple. Oh man, what else? I've got the role-playing game starter set. I've got Madness at Gardmore Abbey. I am so pumped to convert Madness at Gardmore Abbey and play that one with some guys and gals. Players is what I meant. But then I've got others. I've got the, what's it called? I've got the 3 main ones. So I've got like the Orcus one, the super high level. I've got Keep on the Shadowfell. I've got Thunderspire Labyrinth and Pyramid of Shadow. That's the one I couldn't think of. So I've got all of the Nenter Vale adventures. I've even got the Nenter Vale Monster Vault, I think is what it's called, which is a great resource. So plenty of opportunities to play if you can't get in the Reavers game. But I think we're going to start to wrap this up here. Maybe we'll stay on for 10 more minutes just for an even time. But if you have questions, post them in the chat. This has been a lot of fun just working on these conversions, showing you that Ezeros doc that's going to be coming out soon, showing you the slides method that I just recently started using. But yeah, other stuff. MTD has, I've run Keep on the Shadowfell, but never got to play in the other 2. Yeah, so Keep on the Shadowfell it's very well written. It's very well designed, as are most of them, honestly. But I think, didn't Bruce Cordell work on Keep on the Shadowfell? I think he did. I know he worked on the Prince of Undeath, like the Orcus one. And there's even another one. There's two or three high-level ones we got too. I just don't know the names of them. But Bruce Cordell now works for Monty Cook, working on like the Strange and the Cipher system and those types of things. And he's a fantastic adventure writer, like one of the best. And so, yeah, those adventures are just great. As much crap as 4th edition has gotten, I liked it. I played it. I like 5th edition more, but 4th edition had some really, really good books, some really good ideas for books, um, some really good adventures, great modules. It was just paired with a system that got a lot of flack. So I want to give those their time in the limelight in 5th edition. So I think that'll be fun. But yeah, that'll be a good time. For those of you just joining, we've got just about, I don't know, 5 or 8 minutes left here. So if you have questions, post them in the chat. I'm keeping an eye on that. We've talked about so many things. We've talked about Reavers of Harkenwald and how it's going to be up on the channel soon. We've talked about converting 4th edition to 5th edition monsters. We actually created a Warforged template that you can use earlier in the video using Google Slides. We talked about how you can use Google Slides because it's a great tool. It's so easy to customize and to make into whatever you need it to be. It's just great, especially for online games. What else have we talked about? I don't know. Oh, Ezeros. We talked about Ezeros. Ezeros is a setting I said earlier in the video that I'm creating for the tabletop RPG one-shot group. It's a fun setting, one of my favorite that I've made, but I'm creating it in a 4-page document that you could just take and easily run that setting. So it's kind of going to be something for the one-shot group to get some feedback on, is this enough information for you to go run a one-shot or a campaign? And just a cool free resource. So watch this video again if you missed that, because you get a sneak peek at that document. Flipping through my adventure creation binder right now, I filmed a new adventure creation binder video, and I had it ready. Like, I rigged a camera to look straight down at it. Like, it took all this work. I had it ready to go. I filmed it, and I don't know how. I mean, I guess it was like a half an hour long. It was a long video, and it must have been pretty like HD, because I get done and it's 33 gigs. I've got some room on my laptop, but I can't have 33 gigs sitting for one video. Like, I was blown away. Something, I don't know, that's crazy. I got rid of it. So I'll try to do like maybe a live hangout to present the adventure creation binder, the latest one for 5th edition, because that just failed when I tried that time. But MTD just sent me something here. Oh, the link didn't work. Keep on the Shadowfell Dragon's Burial Site was my first dungeon craft. That's awesome. But yeah, I'm getting like a 404 error. I can't wait to see that though. Yeah, that's a good one. I don't know if I'll run Keep on the Shadowfell on the channel, just because I might. You never know. I'm going to run all the other ones first, though. I've ran Keep on the Shadowfell like 6 different times, and I love it, and it's good. It's just, yeah, I need to run something else. It's a great introductory adventure, though, especially for 4th edition, obviously. If you're introducing players to 4E, it's great. But yeah, we don't have a lot of questions in the chat. Oh, I guess MTD did just send me. Ooh, nice. I'm going to screen share that. I hope that's all right. Look at that. So this is the Dragon Burial Site from Keep on the Shadowfell. 4 years ago. That is so cool. Oh man, that is really cool. That makes that adventure so much more exciting if you had something like that. Oh, I love the towers, the ruins over here. I love that. Man, that looks really good. Very nice. See, that's the type of stuff that I want to get more into. I want to have, I want to use more terrain. I want to use miniatures when I can, and I do use miniatures with like dry erase mats, dungeon tiles. But with 5th edition, we just haven't used them as much yet because I like to use them more for like the big climactic battles. Um, and my players are just starting the campaign in 5th edition, so we haven't gotten to any like big ones yet. But and as soon as I get a better place, I think I'll do a lot more crafting. You guys answered my question in the crafting panel very well, though. Like with the limited space that I have, I now feel more comfortable on using that space to craft and store crafts. But yeah, I think if I had like an actual garage I could go into and just down and dirty crafting, I would totally do it. Um, but yeah, that looks like a really fun site. And yeah, you said you played that battle for hours. That's awesome. We did a final story here just to show you how crazy 4th edition was at high levels. There's types of monsters in 4th edition called solos. They're designed, or they have solo keyword. They're designed to be the only monster in the fight. Like they should have a chance at wiping the party. And we played like a level, I think this was 26 or 27. And by then I'd realized that like the mechanics, the encounter balancing does not exist in high level 4th edition play. And so we had a battle that lasted 4.5 hours. It was intense, and it involved 2 solo monsters, not even just a solo and like something else. 2 solos. I think it was a storm giant, and as soon as they killed the storm giant, or they were on like the final blow of the storm giant, these like huge blue claws like gripped into the side of this like mountain they were on, and this ancient blue dragon pulls itself up to basically see what's going on up here. And then so they've used every daily power, every encounter power in 4th edition. Like they just have nothing left, and an ancient blue dragon shows up right into the fight. No time to rest. And believe it or not, they beat it. They beat both of them. So that just goes to show you that high level 4th edition, some crazy stuff. But yeah, I think I'm going to end it there. This has been fun. It was fun to hang out. Be looking forward to more on the channel. Like I said, I've got a Blue Yeti mic coming in, so that will definitely encourage me to film some more. And got some games coming up. So yeah, but I'll end it here. I hope everyone has a great week of gaming. I hope you're doing some fun stuff. Definitely leave it in the comments what you're up to, and I will see you all in the next video. Peace out, everyone.